Hi guys, and welcome to this video on the full moon in Aquarius that happens on the 12th of August 2022. Thanks for joining me. It's a pleasure to be with you today. The chart you see next to me here, that's a snapshot of the sky at the moment this full moon is going to take place. I'm going to analyze that chart to see what it says about the relationships the planets form with one another, what kind of atmosphere that creates, and how you can then tap into it and use the energy to your advantage. So maximize the good stuff that this full moon supports you in and minimize the potential pitfalls. Okay, so this full moon is known as the Sturgeon Moon or the Harvest Moon. It falls right in the middle of summer here, and because astrology is based on the seasons, Western astrology, and those seasons as they exist in the Northern Hemisphere, it makes sense that this is the Harvest Moon, right? It's the height of summer, everything's warm, fruits are growing, you're able to just kind of live life on easy street, and it's about celebration and harvest and having plenty. So for me, the question then is, what are you harvesting? What are you going to get out of this? And I feel, well, let me give you the dates and stuff, and then I'll get into it. So it happens on the 12th of August at 2:35 in the morning, and that's based on Europe time. If you're in the States, this happens late in the evening on the 11th of August. And if you're east of Europe, it'll happen early in the morning on the 12th. Full moons are gradual events, right? I always think the influence is there for about 3 days. And this full moon takes the sun in Leo at 19 degrees, and that opposes the moon in Aquarius, also at 19 degrees, obviously, because they're 180 degrees away from each other. And I think the whole harvest thing, the thing that you're able to gain, is a much greater sense of your identity and your personality, and a sense of, I give myself permission and I have the right to live the way I want to live, without restriction, without self-censorship or feeling the pressure from my environment to censor myself. This is me, and I have a right to be here, being exactly the way I feel. There's nothing wrong with being different or feeling like I'm not part of the mainstream. And just because I have unique ideas or opinions, or I am different as an individual, that doesn't make me wrong. And I don't immediately have to throw out my uniqueness to fit in with the mainstream. So it's interesting. This is a kind of full moon where if you felt like a little bit bullied or brainwashed, or you've conformed and adapted for so long that you feel like you've lost a part of yourself, or you can't really remember what you were like before you made the amendments to your personality and your identity. I mean, I can really relate to this. In my case, I was sent to a boarding school, right, when I was really young, 11, 12, and I realized that I was gay at that boarding school. And along with that came the realization that I'm going to have to adapt the way I come across so that the other kids aren't aware of this, like mannerisms and things like that. So I have to adapt the way I appear if I don't want to be bullied all the time, if I want to get through this, right? So that then is something that you do at that age, and that has consequences as you get older. So even things like that, so whether you've made the changes to yourself like 30 years ago, or it's just something that you're doing now. So for instance, you're going to a family dinner, and usually you're very casual and relaxed and liberal, but to this family dinner, just to fit in and to, you dress very formally, and you kind of are very careful about the opinions you express. So you kind of censor yourself, or you adapt so that you can fit into some sort of social box and niche. I feel that you get a lot of clarity around that kind of behavior, doing that, the tendency to adapt yourself to fit in rather than to say, hey, the situation needs to adapt. And that's what the great thing is about Aquarius, you know, because Aquarius is an air sign, the sign that this moon is in, this full moon is in. And it's the sign of the humanitarian and the teacher and the person who's interested in doing something for the greater good. It's ruled by Uranus, the planet of the miraculous and the unexpected, lightning hitting. So it makes an interesting point, you know, because if you want to be a humanitarian, then you do take on the institution and say, hey, actually, society, this isn't the way we ought to think. let's change things so that individuals have more freedom in their own lives, or whatever it may be, right? But that's not something that most of us can do. Like, for instance, myself, I would never feel like I could change other people's opinions on anything. It takes a particular type of person to do that. And I think it is possible, but it's not like everyone out on the streets or anyone's going to say, okay, I'm going to go out into society today and change the fabric of the way other people think as a unit. I mean, that's a very specialized niche, and that's then what's called the humanitarian and the person who is of service and who's an educator. I mean, that's how change is affected according to the astrology, by opening other people's minds and giving them the right information. That's what then allows them to see things differently and for change on a larger scale to happen. Okay, so the moon is how you feel. At 19 degrees in Aquarius, you have a great sense that you are who you are, and that is okay and acceptable, and you can celebrate that, and you want to get back to the real you. But also with the moon in Aquarius, you want to let other people in on that, and you want to make that a kind of group effort. So I have the freedom to be myself. I want to let other people in on that too. So that automatically makes you very busy. One, you're determined to kind of realize yourself and to stop censoring. But then at the same time, you're thinking about other people and how you can help them. But then you're applying where you're at in your own life to other people, and you're doing their thinking for them to a certain extent. The interesting thing about this is we've got the sun in Leo, and then we've got that opposing the moon, obviously because it is a full moon, but Saturn is next to it. So the reason people censor themselves and kind of put a lid on it and say, I've got to adapt my behavior, is for survival. It's for getting benefits that you wouldn't if you don't conform. There are a number of payoffs and reasons for it. Like, okay, if I just parrot everyone else's ideas in this university, then other people will approve of me, and I'll be part of the gang and part of the club, and I'll get respect that I never had before, for instance, right? So there's always a payoff. But the thing is that at the same time, you now have compassion for other people who are still stuck in that system. And the reality is that you're just breaking out of the system. You've been bullied and prompted and pressured into doing things a certain way. During this fall, you're now realizing that you are part of that process. You're coming out of it. And at the same time, you already want to be charitable to someone else and to help save them. It just seems like a bit much. You know, it's like, and sorry if this offends you, but this was my personal experience. Like, people who go to rehab, and then they go to rehab, they complete it, and then 2 weeks later they're doing an addiction course, counseling course to help other people. And it's just like, that's great, and if that's how you want to be of service, that's amazing. But maybe get a little bit more recovery under your own belt before you start counseling others. You know what I mean? It just made my red flags go up a little bit. So it's this same kind of thing. Okay, I've been bullied by society to be a certain way. I want to reclaim myself. Great, that's the process. But at the same time, I now want to rescue other people from that same thing. And I guess addiction isn't actually a good example here, because you can't rescue anyone unless they try and do it for themselves. Like, if someone has been, pushed into a certain way of thinking or perspective by society, they're never going to let go of that just because you say it's wrong. They're only going to change those beliefs, or this is my opinion anyway, feel free to disagree. But I don't think they change those beliefs unless something drastic happened, which then made them feel like, hey, I need to take a look at my beliefs and I need to change them. And it's a personal decision. Like, you have power over that, right? No one can do it for you. So I feel that the focus ought to be on those parts of yourself that you feel you've censored, kind of bringing them back into the light and doing something with those and growing them and expanding on them, and not worrying so much about being, Robin Hood for everyone else. Because, yeah, my argument is that Even if you do try and free people and liberate them by talking to them and educating them and stuff, I don't think that's the point of the day. I think that's a potential distraction. And I would think where you can really be of service and make great changes is in your own life and the way you let society influence you in future. It's interesting because this has been a theme quite a lot. And you may think like, Greg, wow, you're always going on about, realizing the self and being the person you want to be and not being influenced by society so much. It almost sounds like that is my shtick, like free yourself from society. But I don't think that is my shtick. I think I've been reading this a lot in the astrology and in the cards. And I think that's what this season is about, like August, this full moon in Aquarius. I've got my own ideas. I am on planet Earth, breathing and taking care of myself and business and everything else. I have a right to my own opinions. And I was influenced by other people, and I still am being influenced by other people. But if I see things totally differently, it is not fair to feel at risk or to feel terrified or bullied into being quiet because it doesn't fit in with the status quo or with the mainstream or the majority. So I feel that having more individuals, there's a big lack at the moment. Things like this come along, this full moon event, to kind of stimulate people into saying, okay, enough already. I don't want to be a sheeple anymore. I want to be my own special creation here. I have a unique way of looking at the world that has caused me problems. But to hell with it. You know what? This is my view of things. I'm just going to be myself. That then has this real positive effect on other people who say, well, maybe if they can be a free thinker, maybe I can do the same thing. Or maybe I can, revisit this and look at it differently. And that then loosens things up majorly because everyone else is, or a lot of people then start thinking for themselves. It's kind of like a snowball effect. And I mean, you may think that I'm deluded for saying this, but I think on this planet, if more people just thought for themselves, instead of being brainwashed by institutions and whatever, the world would be a much better place, I think. So, because a lot of those things that brainwash us don't make sense anymore. They're outdated, they're not particularly kind, compassionate. I think it's about moving forward and looking ahead, right? And the only way to do that is to leave behind the outdated stuff and to think for yourself and say, how do I want to progress forward? And then how can I be a humanitarian and take that extra step and take other people with me? So again, focus on your own thing and how you can be freer and to do it for yourself first and foremost. And then if you have extra left over to rescue other people and you can't absolutely help yourself or prevent yourself from doing that, then go for it. But it's number 5 on the priority list. Okay, so the sun at 19 degrees in Leo. So first of all, the sun's super happy being in Leo because it rules that sign. So the sun, giant fireball, solar plexus chakra, my life, my control, my happiness, my joy, my inner child. In Leo, I'm able to give myself everything I want. I'm able to enjoy abundance and feel the moment and appreciate the beauty in nature and in other people, and I'm able to laugh and be silly and to have fun. And I'm able to be confident and stick up for myself and lead. At 19 degrees, that's 10. 10 reduces to 1 in numerology. That's the pioneer, the boss, the magician. So by being myself, that's how I create a wonderful life. Not by pretending to hold my fork a certain way and then I get into the fancy people club. That's not the path to happiness, according to this. The moon then at 19 degrees in Aquarius, it's only being my true authentic self that allows me to have my own ideas, to create my own meaning around what this place is, and then to have the confidence to express that. So this is a full moon that takes you from being a sheeple to now becoming an institution, an authority in your own right, because you're saying, this is what makes sense to me, this is what I've learned, my experience, my education, and that's what I decide the rules are. Because I think it's right, and I'm entitled to have my own opinion. With Saturn sitting next to it. So I'm making it sound like that's me. It's not. I'm talking about you here. I'm talking about the planets, how they interact and what energy they create, and it gives you this sense of certainty that I have a right to my own ideas. and my own yeses and nos. Okay, thank you very much. So, particularly people who've been bullied, right? Or people who've been around narcissists their whole life, or were never allowed to speak. You know, back in the day, they said children should be seen and not heard. So, anyone who comes from that kind of background, we need days like this to say, actually, no matter what's happened, I do have my own way of seeing it. And just because everyone I've ever come across disagrees with me doesn't necessarily make me wrong. You know, it's that other thing, like if you run into a bunch of a-holes in a day and you run into 10 of them, then the likelihood is that you're the a-hole. But it doesn't have to be true. It may be that you just run into 10 people who are wrong, I think. And usually, excuse me, I'm just, I don't know why this is cracking me up, but it is because usually if you have an amazing, wonderful idea, everyone is going to be against you. Because this wonderful, great idea that then helps people and makes everything different, someone else had come up with it, then it would already been out there. So don't take that too seriously, I feel, like other people's opinion. And particularly here, it's a time to unbrainwash yourself and to start thinking for yourself. So be very clear about who's putting the pressure on you and what you're allowed to think and what you're not allowed to think. So with Saturn at 22 degrees in Aquarius, you won't have too many problems here because it says I have the right to build something concrete that positions me as the boss in my own life and the authority figure in my life. So I say this and therefore it's going to go. What's coming to mind as I'm saying that is my own parents. When I was a little kid, if my parents said something, you know, that was like an edict from above. Those were the rules. Like I really listened to that. And there was such a sense of authority, like we're the parents here and you do what we say. And it wasn't even questioned. So now that you're an adult, you can be the parent in your own life and say, these are the things that I have come to believe, and that's what I'm going to stick with. Thank you. So it makes it much easier in future for things to bounce off you because you've already been there, looked into the situation, the conflict, the ideas, whatever. You've made a decision, you've landed for yourself. So in future, it just means that things bounce off you much more easily. Okay, so then we've got the moon forming a grand cross. It forms a square with the south node in Scorpio, the sun, another square between the south node and the sun in Leo, then the sun in Leo with Uranus and the north node in Taurus, and then they square back to the moon and Saturn in Aquarius. A grand cross gives you lots of energy, but it can be confusing because you're looking at lots of different things at the same time. And it's like, what should I be focusing on here? What should I pay attention to? So the thing is, I am an authority in my own right. I'm allowed to be who I am. The south node in Scorpio is kind of like, because I've been here and I've done it and I know the truth. It's that certainty of I've got my own eyes and ears. I've been here. Like I know what I know. It's that kind of certainty of I know it in my bones. Okay. Then the sun in Leo, you have the confidence to stand up for yourself and to stand up for what you believe and to simply be who you are. And with the north node and Uranus in Taurus, it's about going in a direction that's in the short term feels full of conflict and insecure because you're having to speak up for yourself and it feels like it's not going to go down very well. But with Uranus in the north node, it means that you can get to a place where you're really, by being powerful in yourself and accepting yourself, other people will then take you seriously and believe you in the way that you present yourself. So that's interesting because look at that. How do other people see me? And don't take it immediately as, oh, that must be right then. But maybe look around at your environment and how other people either treat you or see you or the way you're described, right? And then look at whether that's accurate or not, whether that's what you want to give off or not, and ideally how you see yourself and what you could do in a practical sense to bring the perception of you and the reality of you closer together. Because again, you may argue it's like, I don't care what other people think of me. But on some sort of practical level, it can give you clues as to what you may be doing wrong that you're not aware of yourself. This is interesting. And it means you can work a situation to your favor if you know what the expectations are. Doesn't mean you have to constantly apply them, but you can borrow them and pick them up as you need them and then be yourself. So it's almost like you're able to be yourself, not by going against everything, but by realizing what the pressures and the social norms are, the codes of conduct, and then you can wear them like different coats. You can put them on and take them off as and when needed without being defined by those ways of thinking and being. So it's kind of, you free yourself of these ideologies, of these very rigid rules, and you're able to pick and choose and use them to your advantage, but you're also able to get rid of them and leave them behind and to transcend them when they don't serve you. Wow, okay. So that's like the definition of like a, I don't know, this is someone who isn't defined by society, but kind of is able to dip in and out. Okay, well then you can make a unique contribution. You can think for yourself and you can still benefit. Okay, so this is very existential about your identity and who you want to be and how you want to come across. Then we have some other aspect patterns. So we've got that square by the moon, then the opposition, and the square to Uranus and the North Node. Okay, we also have a semi-square between the moon and Jupiter in Aries at 8 degrees. And that says being independent and thinking for myself and doing something for myself, that's going to feel healing, and it's going to feel like I'm on team me, and I need that right now. I need someone's support, and ideally if it's my own support, that's the best, and that's what empowers me the most to heal certain things in my life that haven't been working, and to have a breakthrough in the sense of I'm no longer going to adapt myself for someone else's benefit. I'm just going to be me. Venus is at 0 degrees in Leo in the first house. It doesn't connect to the moon, but Venus at 0 degrees, you get the quintessential nature of the creative planet of love and beauty. In Leo, she's up on stage and she's very public. So this is about finding a way to be comfortable in the spotlight. And most people don't like that. You know, but if you come to terms with who you are, then just presenting yourself, it doesn't scare you anymore because you know there aren't any skeletons in the closet. So yeah, this is a great day for anyone who has felt like they've lost themselves or who wants to take the next step and to find a way to present their own unique ideas in a way that other people can engage with, and finding the right format that doesn't actually scare you half to death, that allows you to express your views and opinions. And it's like a first step to creating a different you. So anyone who wants to kind of go public or to broadcast themselves or to share anything with the world at large, this is a wonderful time to catapult yourself into the limelight using your ideas and what you want to contribute. Yeah, perfect. Okay, let's see if they're so what are you harvesting? You're harvesting your confidence, your unique ideas, and you're putting them out in the public where you then get positive feedback and you get something in return, as in there is value to this. I feel vindicated in what I've been working on because other people are now benefiting. So it's like the culmination of something you've been working towards for a long time. You're breaking that glass barrier and you're moving on to the other side of it. Good. Good. Yeah. All right. So we've got that Grand Cross. Oh, I said it gives you a lot of energy, but it can be conflicting. And I don't know if I completely said that. So the conflict is between my identity, feeling that in my bones, and how am I going to manifest that in future. So by looking at the sun and the moon and Saturn and the South Node in Scorpio, it's like if things haven't been clear, at least I know they are clear now. Who I am and where I want to go, that makes total sense. With Uranus and the North Node in Taurus, it's kind of like on a soul level, where am I going? And Uranus is about change, so I want something to alter in my practical life. But Mars is also next to it at 25 degrees in Taurus, so it gives you the opportunity to be creative with what the future is going to look like. Now that can be a bit scary because if you have all the options in the world, then it's like, well, how do I pick one? But I don't think that's what you're meant to be looking at just yet. I think it's first about embracing who you are and yourself, and finally that you're on the same page with yourself. You know, I heard something that really highlighted this to me the other day about how weird the thinking can get. I was watching this guy on YouTube and he was having some health problems. He was like, oh my God, my body hates me. It's like doing all these things against me. And I was just like, that's such a weird way of thinking, because like you are your body. Like, if, you know, you may think this is like idiotic, okay? But I was like, your body isn't doing anything against you. You are your body. So just try and think of yourself as the body, and maybe rather than this being a war, you versus it, if you look at it differently, then you can perceive that message differently, as maybe as your body is trying to get your attention that something isn't working and you need to change it, rather than saying, oh, it hates me, you know? And that's what this is. It's kind of like, I am who I am, and how can I stop fighting myself over it and instead see the positives and see how I can turn it into a plus, an asset in future. And I feel the practical stuff is going to follow from that. So first and foremost, it's about turning a corner when it comes to your own perception of yourself, and that then leads to practical action steps afterwards. Yeah. Okay, anything else? Nope. No, that's it. Okay, so that's what I get for you for this full moon, harvest moon in Aquarius on the 12th of August. I hope you have a great time. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, click on book your reading to audio reading with me. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please hit subscribe and the little bell next to it, and share the video online. Have an amazing day here during this full moon. Check out the weekly horoscope as well. I go through each day of the week, and the daily tarot readings on this channel as well. Have a fabulous time, and I'll speak to you soon. All the best.